All right, let's talk about one of the biggest mysteries out there. For centuries, one name has just echoed through history, a whisper of a golden age lost beneath the waves: Atlantis. It is the ultimate story of a lost city, a fabled island civilization that supposedly just vanished. But what if the greatest lost city of all time was never actually lost to begin with?
This right here, this is the line that started everything. It's a chilling description from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. Just think about that for a second. An entire, advanced civilization, a global powerhouse, just gone in less than 24 hours. This single, dramatic phrase is what set the stage for a legend that has totally captivated us for thousands of years.
You know, when we think of Atlantis, this is the picture that pops into our heads, right? Some gleaming utopia with technology way beyond its time, unbelievable riches, but also a dark side. A society that had absolutely everything and then, somehow, lost it all. It's such a compelling, almost irresistible story.
So, let's start there. We're going to first explore this very idea, the popular myth of this grand drowned utopia. This is the Atlantis you see in the movies, the one you read about in books, the one that lives in our collective imagination.
You've got to wonder, though, where did a story this huge even begin? Was it some fragmented memory passed down through generations? You know, maybe an exaggerated historical account? Or was it something else entirely? To get to the bottom of it, we have to go way back in time, to a single, solitary source.
And that brings us to our next section, because this is where things get really interesting. The entire legend of Atlantis, every last bit of it, comes from one man, the philosopher Plato. This wasn't some widespread ancient myth floating around. Nope, it was a very specific story, told for a very specific reason. And what's so fascinating is how precise its origin is. This isn't some vague piece of folklore. We can literally pinpoint it to two of Plato's philosophical works, Timaeus and Critias. This is ground zero for the entire Atlantis phenomenon.
And look at that date, 360 BCE. We are talking about a story that is almost 2,500 years old. It's honestly a testament to the power of a really good story that we are still talking about it today.
So, what did Plato actually say Atlantis was like? Well, he painted this picture of a colossal naval power, located out beyond the Pillars of Heracles, which is what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. He describes this massive empire with magnificent engineering, incredible architecture, and a fleet that ruled over a huge territory. In his telling, it was a true superpower of the ancient world.
But here's the twist. This wasn't just a story about how great this society was, it was a story about its downfall. According to Plato, the people of Atlantis, who were once so noble, became totally consumed by greed and power. They lost their way, and because of that, they faced a pretty harsh divine punishment.
And this brings us to the absolute key to unlocking this whole mystery, the idea of an allegory. An allegory is a story that isn't really meant to be taken literally. Instead, it's designed to carry a deeper message. And this is what almost all scholars believe Plato was actually doing.
So you have two choices here. Was Plato trying to be a historian, carefully recording a lost chapter of the past, or was he a philosopher, using a fictional story to make a powerful point? Well, the overwhelming academic consensus is that Atlantis was a moral parable, a cautionary tale about what happens when a powerful nation, maybe even a nation like Plato's own Athens, loses its virtue and is consumed by hubris.
Okay, so if it was just a philosophical warning, how on earth did it transform into this global obsession? How did a parable become a real place people started hunting for on maps?
Well, the story was pretty much dormant for centuries. Then, during the Renaissance, scholars rediscovered Plato's works. But the real explosion in popularity, that came way, way later. You can see a few key moments, but that one in 1882, that was a game changer.
And it was all because of this guy, Ignatius Donnelly. You could probably call him the father of the modern Atlantis craze. He wasn't a historian or an archaeologist. He was a politician and a writer who came up with this wild theory that Atlantis was the mother culture from which all other great civilizations from Egypt to the Maya originally came. It was total pseudo-history, but man was it popular. Now, in more recent times, people have tried to find a real-world basis for Plato's story. Could it have been inspired by a real event? Some of the top candidates range from volcanic eruptions to land masses that sank into the sea. But the most compelling of them all is the eruption of a place called Thera. The theory, and it's a pretty good one,
goes like this. Around 1600 BCE, a massive volcano on the island of Thera, which we now call Santorini, blew its top. It was one of the biggest volcanic events in human history, and it absolutely devastated the advanced Minoan civilization nearby. So it's totally plausible that the memory of this very real catastrophe was passed down for over 1,000 years, and eventually became the seed for Plato's allegorical tale.
So where does that leave us today? Well, let's wrap up by looking at the incredible, enduring legacy of this powerful legend.
Let's just be crystal clear about this. Despite all the books, all the documentaries, all the deep-sea expeditions, there is zero, and I mean zero, definitive archaeological or geological evidence that Plato's Atlantis ever existed as he described it. So the real question is, why do we still care so much?
I think the legend sticks around because it speaks to something really deep inside all of us. It taps into our longing for lost golden ages, our strange fascination with apocalyptic disasters, and maybe most importantly, it reflects that quiet fear that our own civilization could fall apart if we get too arrogant, which is the exact warning Plato intended in the first place.
And that's really the beautiful duality of this myth, isn't it? It's both a puzzle to be solved and a lesson to be learned. Whether you think it's a real place just waiting to be discovered or a profound philosophical warning, it forces us to take a hard look at our own world and our own choices.
So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. If all the evidence points to it being a myth, what are we really looking for when we search for Atlantis? Maybe we're not just looking for a lost island. Maybe we're looking for a piece of ourselves, a reflection of our greatest hopes, our deepest fears, and our unending quest to find meaning in the ruins of the past.